Hey y'all. Well, it's still snowing. Well, it's a sunny day, but there's still a foot of snow outside. So we cannot detect really at all. So I realized that on my personal channel, I had sort of a video I did, the first one I did back, I don't know what it was, June, July, somewhere around there. And I decided, I could dig that out and we could revisit some of that stuff and go from there. So out of sheer laziness, I bring you part one of my very first metal detecting video. I hope you enjoy. Hey, I'm doing a little video. I've never done one of these before. This is going to be mostly for my dad, who keeps telling me he wants to go metal detecting with me, but he can't get out there. I spend 8 hours at a time out there in the heat when I go out, so I'm just gonna kind of put a little compilation of this and that together, and you get an idea for what I do when I go out there. So we're gonna hit the road and go up to one of my favorite spots. Probably won't find anything. I've picked it over really well over the last year and 4 months or so. But it is one of my favorite places in the world to be. We'll see what happens. I don't know if maybe we'll get to meet Anne. I don't know, that'd be kind of cool. But we'll hit the road and go on out. Well, we're almost there. This is the old road in. We also search over here sometimes. It's Randy's. Over here too is George's. And those are all thanks to Anne as well, who spoke to her neighbors. Well, she spoke to George, and then I was at George's one day and I ran into Randy looking for George and asked him if I could look at his place too. And yeah. So we're almost there. We'll be back in a minute. Well, here's the road into Anne's. I love this place. Sometimes I'll turn into this road and there'll be animals sitting in the middle of the road and I have to wait for them to get out of the way. Little porcupines and turkeys and things like that. Well, I'm not going to give the location away, so I'm going to turn it off again, but we'll be back in a minute. And here's the spot. Here we are. We're going to park right here. Yeah, all right. Well. Well, here we are. This is Loretta the Forester. We name all our cars. I don't know, we're strange. And here's my big bin full of metal detecting stuff. And this right here is Jolene. Mary Ann named her because, she stole her man and all that. I spend more time with Jolene now than I spend with Mary Ann, so. I'm gonna dig some of this stuff out and I'll talk about it. Well, here's all my stuff laid out. That's Jolene right there. She's a Minelab Manticore, which is one of the better machines you can get. I got my old army gear kind of set up here. I have a digger tool and a pin pointer. In that canteen holder, I have a bug net hat. And I have other various pouches. I get some spare batteries over there for my pin pointer. I have a little first aid kit and a little baggie that I put together in that shoulder pouch. This one right here, which is actually what it was intended for originally in the Army. And my fines box right there. I put the better stuff, and all the junk just goes in here. This is a bolt pouch that a lineman would use, and it's nice and rugged. It's canvas, so it's kind of a heavy batch of stuff, but it works pretty well and it's well balanced on my shoulders. And seems to work for me. I mean, a lot of people use stuff that's made for metal detecting. I really don't. I use like a little garden digger shovel, a root slayer, a little plastic bubble wrap kind of mailer thing that I use to sort my soil. Makes it easier to see things as I'm finding them. I got Jolene's headphones here and my gloves. I use these big gauntlet gloves because I'm very susceptible to poison ivy and whatnot. So those work well for me, and I can just throw them in the wash too. I got my my water thing that goes in my back. It's got a tube that comes up, and I do have a lot of water in the car as well, so I can refill that whenever I need to. And yeah, got my lunch and everything else in there. All right, well, we're gonna turn everything on, put on our sunscreen, right, and our bug spray and all that kind of stuff, and we'll go for a little walk and we'll talk about this place. It's gonna be hard not to use names of where we are, but you have to keep it secret. I don't want random people showing up here and bothering Anne, but yeah, it's a beautiful place and has a long history, and we'll talk about that as we go along. All right, we'll be back. All right, well, we'll take a minute to talk about Jolene the manticore here. I have a wrap on the cable. That's in case I rub up against briars and things that might damage the cable. But she's a noisy bugger. You can hear her right now. I have wireless headphones that I'm going to turn on, so you won't have to listen to all this noise. But essentially, she has all kinds of different settings. She's a computer, so there's all kinds of stuff there. I'm not even going to try to explain them to anybody. You can find all of that online if you want to find out more about the MindLab Manticore. But the main search program I've been using is all terrain fast. It has a quicker recovery speed, so if I'm in an area with a lot of junk, which the farm out obviously has lots of nails and iron objects beneath the ground, I can discriminate those out, and if there's something right next to a nail, I'm more likely to hear it if it's something I want to dig up. So I'm looking mostly for non-ferrous targets like brass and copper and lead, and of course silver and gold, copper. Did I say copper? Probably. All that sort of stuff. And I do dig up iron occasionally if it sounds interesting. It'll give me a different tone if it's something heavier, and sometimes I'll find tools and artifacts and things like that. All right, anyway, we'll go back out of there. Let's see. This little graph here, there's a light gray spot on top and on the bottom. Those are the ferrous limits. If there's something happening up there, there'll be like smudges of black all over the screen right down this part here. And this center line is where all the coins, if we find any coins, they'll end up here. Most of the brass and iron and copper, yeah, all the copper and brass and lead and silver and anything like that will show up on this line or within this white area here. So, yeah. We'll talk about it more as we go along. All right, let's go for a walk. So this is the start of what is actually a stone lane right along the road here. And the family's history goes back well over 200 years. And Anne is a member of the original family. So this property has been in the same family the whole time in one form or another through various relations over the years. And one of those ancestors, his name was Daniel Dana, and he was known for planting apple trees everywhere he went on the property. And this is one of his, still here, still alive, still has some leaves growing on it. And find these here and there. A lot of them look like they're in pretty rough shape now, but they're hidden in the woods. It was all open at one point. But yes, this is the big stone lane. And over here is one of the oldest fields. And there's a stone ledge over there where I believe the first settlers from the family built their first cabin. There's no visible evidence of it, but I found a lot of stuff there, and it's all household type of items. So we're going to walk over there, and we'll talk a bit more about that. After I'd been here a while, I got permission and asked our neighbor George if I could search on his land. And this is all his land on the other side of this wall. And I did find a British half-cent over there depicting King George III, the king who lost America. Also some buttons and some interesting farm items. Found a whole cross-cut saw way down on the far wall. And right around these little rocks over in this open area, I found a destroyed coin. But I was able to figure out that it was probably more than likely a William and Mary halfpenny from about 1692. So there's old history here. Let's keep walking. Found an American half-cent right around this big tree here. Well, there's not much on the lane. I think the lane was probably used mainly for moving animals about. So this site over here I was talking about, the early settler site, I found by accident. I'd been walking through here to access other sites last year, and I kept looking through and seeing that big erratic boulder over there and just thinking, that looks interesting. I don't know. I want to get over there sometime. But I didn't, and eventually one day I was walking through, and sort of like today, you can see the sun coming down the hill there. There's sort of a bit of a road that comes right down to this opening in the wall. And I walked up. I'm always swinging the metal detector when I'm doing this, usually. So I was just swinging along. Had my friend here, Jolene. We're just bopping along. And I got up about halfway. There's a big spooky old apple tree, thanks to Daniel Dana, or Uncle Dane as he's known in the lore. And I started hearing a lot of noise. When you're near an old home site, you hear a lot of iron noise in the ground. It just goes, makes a grunting sound. It's like, and then you might hear something else mixed in with it. And that's what we did. And right around these small pines here, I found a colonial shoe buckle frame, or a colonial era shoe buckle frame. The family first moved here in about 1791. And it wasn't long, and I started finding coins to date the site, which is really good from an archaeology perspective, because you get an idea of when it was settled. And there was nothing before or after this small range of dates. The first one I found, or one of the first ones I found, was right around this tree here, and it was a Massachusetts state copper cent. From 1787. Before the U.S. Mint was organized after the Revolution, a number of the states issued their own coins. And that was one of those. I started finding a lot of buttons and cutlery, old pewter, all sorts of things. More half cents. I think they were all 1804, the half cents I found in this spot. Here's Uncle Dane's apple tree. Still has some green leaves on it, but it is mostly dead. One day, it was a stormy day, and I was right about here. And I found one of my favorite coins ever, which I'll show you a picture of, which is a 1794 Liberty Cap cent, which actually has instructions on how to use the darn thing, because it was the first cent, or the second year that we ever issued a cent in the United States. And on the edge of the coin it says it's stamped in 100 for $1. And on the back of some of those early cents it also had a fraction, 1 over 100. And they did the same for the half cent, but it was right here in the spot. All in all, I'd say I probably found about 8 coins up here. And I even started doing a little bit of an archaeology project, just an amateur archaeology project, and did a little test pit. And hopefully this year I'm going to do a larger trench, if I can find the time to do it. And it's fun because you come up with all the pottery fragments and this and that. You get an idea of how they lived up here. It was probably just a very primitive cabin. But it is a magical place. Later in the summer, right around this tree here, I found my first silver coin at this site, which was the very first dime ever issued by the United States in 1796. It's called the draped bust dime. And they're pretty rare. Unfortunately, I damaged it slightly getting it out of the hole. The hole was about a foot down and had a lot of small stones in there. I still kick myself for that, but there's no way you can know what you're dealing with under the ground or what's going to come out of the ground. Sometimes you can guess if you've dug enough of the common items, but you never know. I did some clearing as well, picking up a lot of the sticks and downed limbs and whatnot, just to get more spots to search. But a little more about the history of the family here. It's pretty interesting. 1791, a man named Joshua and his wife Sarah moved here from down in the southeastern part of the state. We're sort of in the north central part of the state, about 20 minutes from where I live. I also like to do genealogy. And I come from an old New England family, and chances are, if you come from an old New England family, you're probably related to everybody in all the other old New England families. So I just started searching the names, and lo and behold, the woman, the wife of the first settler, Joshua, Sarah, she is my third cousin. And I checked it and I double checked it, and it's true. So I'm here with family, and that makes Anne my 10th cousin. Fun stuff. But anyway, we're going to move on, and we'll actually do some metal detecting. I don't expect to find much today while I'm shooting this video. mainly because I've hit these areas so much. But later on I will go to a spot I haven't really done much with. I also don't expect to find much, but that's the key. Always keep going over new ground, and you try to find places that seem like they would have had activity at some point. I mean, I'm not in it for the money, I'm in it for the history, that's for sure. So I just like to get an idea of what went on. It's fun. Some might find it boring, but I really enjoy it. Seems like we had a rain, so the ground is pretty conductive. I think that's just going to be a nail. And I'm going to try it anyway, so you never know until you dig it. So check it both directions here. And it's in the center on this side. And the numbers remain black, which tells me it's could be non-ferrous. But this way, it bounces into the red numbers and shows a reflection going up into the gray. So, I don't know. I'll dig it anyway. All right. All right, right about there. We'll live dig this, but I suspect it's going to be a nail. Good easy digging right in that spot. You don't always get that. You hit the roots, the rocks, all that kind of stuff. This is New Hampshire after all, but that was about as easy it gets to dig a hole right there. Take our pinpointer, try that in the hole first, see if I hear it. Do not hear it. It's in the plug. I do not hear it in the plug. Alright, so I swing Jolene back over it. Still in there. And sometimes after you dig a hole, the signal will change, but this time it's still about the same. So, next step is to get as much material out of the hole as I can. And like I said earlier, I use this piece of plastic here to sort my stuff. My eyesight's not that good. Everything's the same color when it comes out of the ground, unless it's shiny silver. Some of it is hard to see. That's how I do it. I've had people on online forums tell me I'm a fool. Well, I don't waste a lot of time, probably not as much time as some people, trying to look for stuff that's evading their gaze, so we'll see. But, alright. Trying to stay clean today because I'm doing this video. Still no signal. Okay, going to assume it's still in the hole. Alright, let's check it again. The signal's changed. I don't hear it now. There it is. Still in there. Still in there. It can take a while to get at things sometimes, especially if you're at a really old site with sandy soil, things are deep. And that's the case here. It's an old place. This farm exists in two different towns actually. It covers about 350 acres. And like I said, it was first inhabited in 1791, but of course it's much older than that. I mean, there were all the old king's grants and things before that. The town was incorporated a lot sooner than it was settled because the wars were going on, French and Indian Wars. So they didn't get up here as quickly as the town was settled. They had to wait till the coast was clear. All right. Well, I will be editing this little bit for length. All right, well, I'm going to turn it off and come back after I find it. Well, that was a journey. Tiny piece of wire. That's it. Tiny piece of wire. Let's keep going. Well, yeah, most of what you find is going to be junk. That is how it goes. You never know. But every time you open up a new hole, it's like Christmas morning because it's a surprise. And that's the fun part, is the surprise of it all, for me anyway. It's like opening a pack of baseball cards. That kind of feeling. You never know what you're going to find inside. Might find something really great. Well, there's the farm from another perspective. That's the old hay barn. The smaller one's a carriage house. And then just peeking over the scrub there is the old tractor barn, which finally fell this year after hundreds of years. But the roof is still protecting most of what's inside. But hopefully that can be resolved and everything inside saved sometime soon. Well, that's the end of part one, folks. I hope you like that little bit of summer right there. I know I sure miss it, so I can't wait to get back out there again. But stay tuned, more to come next week. Some more of this. It was all just one big piece, so I had to cut it up this way. So yeah, stay tuned for more. Come on back. We'll see you then.
Yes, now let's take it home. That's all. I said. Beep, beep.